There's a really unique feeling that comes from Nintendo's Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and I don't think I've felt that feeling in a very long time. Much like its predecessor Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom encompasses an entire Hyrule that Link can sink his teeth into, even borrowing and evolving on that same formula and parts that made the original so fun, fantastic and influential on its own. From afar and even inexperienced mind, it may look like Tears of the Kingdom is nothing more than a really expensive DLC to what Breath of the Wild had already brought to the table. But Tears elevates the formula in so many ways and flips it on its head, and gives us brand new powers and items that we can use to our disposal, making brand new inventive ways that we can explore this already incredibly dense world. You have Ultra Hand, the ability to pick up most items in the world and stick them together, creating ramps, vehicles and anything you can think of. You have Ascend, the weird ability to be able to walk players through floors that hang over players' heads, one that often doesn't feel right and very strange. I seriously don't know what Nintendo were on when they implemented it into the game, but it's one that if it wasn't there would surely be missed. You have Recall, the incredible ability to be able to retrace an item's steps in time, creating paths for yourself and even using those paths to be able to elevate the player to locations they need to be. And of course the main ability that will get you through the game, Fuse, the simple ability to be able to utilize and fuse weapons with any item in the world, turning them from their base stats into something incredibly different. These literally turn Link into a walking, non-talking machine of ideas, and it leaves the player feeling like a genius, a hero, and often a cheater. That sound right there. Every person who sat down and played the early GTA series back in the PlayStation 2 generation would remember just inputting those codes, and it would feel like an intentional, integral part of Rockstar's intended experience. There's a compelling feeling that we get when a game opens itself up to players in the form of cheats. We feel like we've earned the right to change the experience as we see fit. If we wanted every weapon on the spot, then we would input the code. If I want to change how a game is played or even viewed, then I would alter it by opening up a text command screen in a Bethesda game. If I wanted an experience that was totally different, then mods can completely change a game for a player, like playing something new for the first time. And of course we can't forget exploits, the way that speedrunners make it their bread and butter to get through games as fast as possible, using everything a game offers, whether it's intended or not. It's an integral part of this community and culture of gaming that definitely feel lost on so many modern AAA games these days. Once upon a time you would be able to open up a menu that would be giving the player the opportunity to input a cheat code and to alter the experience, but nowadays we're lucky for the most part if we get a filter choice to play with. Nintendo have always been very consistent and very precise with the way that they develop their games. They're also one of the most creative developers to ever grace the scene of gaming on its own. There is a level of quality and exceptionalism that is almost hit with every single game that they make, especially when it comes to their icons: Mario, Kirby, Metroid, Star Fox, and of course, The Legend of Zelda. And I'm not the biggest Nintendo fan in the world, it's not really something I seek out to get, especially from day one, but Zelda has always been a very important part of my life, so of course I ran to Tears of the Kingdom because I just adored everything that Zelda has to offer. So it's a really weird and misplaced feeling that usually comes from the expected quality we expect from Nintendo. There is a sense in Tears of the Kingdom almost of being lost, but almost forcibly pushed in a direction in many stages of this game that I've experienced so far. And that's not with every location of Tears of the Kingdom. Just like Breath of the Wild, it's as freeing and as open as you want it to be, and it's entirely down to the player, but there are condensed moments that just feel very odd. The player is given a welcome challenge very early in Tears, in the first few hours while exploring the opening Sky Island, where you're given all the powers you need, and it feels crazy freeing at the time. How you use the carts to get around these Sky Islands is simple. Either you create something to go on the track with a simple fan, or you play with the idea of freedom, sticking and combining things together. There's a test and sense of height that Nintendo teases the player to reach, with you cutting down trees and sticking them together like like you used to do with McDonald's straws back in the day, thinking you are mostly cheating the system and went against what Nintendo intended you to do in the first place. And all while you're exploring and creating and making your own paths, you're either saying to yourself, I'm a genius, or this is not what they wanted me to do, but fuck it. And it's that sensation and feeling there that constantly fills the experience of Tears of the Kingdom, and I find it often not a negative feeling, but at least one that comes across really daunting to an experience in a game such like this. The best way to explain what I mean here is using a shrine as an example. The shrines make a return, but unlike Breath of the Wild that are challenges more about the player's understanding of its mechanics, Tears of the Kingdom opens the player's mind a little bit more, giving you challenges that I can only compare to something out of Taskmaster. And it really allows the players to scratch their creative side, but also open their mind to different challenges depending on what objects and what's been given to you, and these can go from a good time to a very dull one. But the shrine I want to focus on is built for the rails, for me, which is a standout experience of the mind and the abilities that are offered to the player. You have to do one simple thing. With fans and flooring provided, create a platform that you can use to grind on the rails to get to the other end. The first rail is pretty straightforward. In a literal sense, you're given platforms and all you have to do is stand still and push yourself along. But very quickly the challenge bar gets raised and you're now given 3 different rails, which now is a matter of weight and scale and what the player can come up with. There are so many ways and builds that you can do to improvise this track. I have seen endless TikToks, tips and videos on different ways that people have succeeded and failed this track, and that is just a testament to this whole entire building mechanic that Tears of the Kingdom offers the player. I, like everybody else, probably experimented with all these mechanics to get this shrine done, but nothing was working in the way that I wanted. But then I thought to myself, why don't I just skip the whole bloody thing? While trying to use the fans and the platforms, I remembered that I suddenly had a shield and a few bombs to spare, and of course that ability of fuse that Nintendo had given to me so early on in the game. Maybe I could use an inflatable balloon or even a rocket to send myself flying into the sky, but for me, that would be too easy. I then created a platform that I knew could probably only get maybe quarter of the way there before giving out and going over the edge. And while grinding on this platform, I waited for the last and right moment to launch Link into the air, going into the shield surf position and crushing the bomb underneath my shield, blowing up the platform, exploding the bomb, sending Link straight into the air, allowing me enough time to glide across the objectives and completely skip everything Nintendo had laid out for me to overcome. I felt like I raised a middle finger to the devs, and I swear that this is a way that the devs never intended me to complete this challenge, but I did it anyway. I felt great. I felt like a cheater again. And it's a repeated feeling and idea that Tears of the Kingdom offers the player, and it's one that you must work with, otherwise you're going to run into plenty dead ends. If there's a ledge that you can get to, maybe try thinking about the future. Grab a box, grab a platform, allow yourself to step onto it into the future, move it into position, bring it back down, then jump onto the object itself, rewind the object's path through time, and you realize you're just replaying the steps you thought for yourself ahead of time. It's genius and truly unlike anything I have seen and played with in a video game, but it's another example of how Nintendo have created a strange mindset of cheating and exploiting what they had given to you. It's almost like it was made with cheating in mind. In a recent Polygon interview, the director Fujibayashi, on the topic of the ability Ascend, said, "You know, that reminds me, I don't think we shared this anywhere else, but the Ascend ability was actually the result of a debug feature that we have in the game. When I was exploring caves, I would get to a destination where I was trying to get to, and once I checked it out, I would have to then use the debug to get to the top. And then I thought, well, maybe this is something that could be usable in the game. And to be blunt and honest, cheating can be fun, so that's why we decided to drop it in there." As soon as I heard this, it brought this idea all together and why Tears of the Kingdom feels the way that it does on so many occasions. But this sometimes unfortunately feels like it's to the game's detriment in so many ways that aren't intended in Nintendo's vision. I had more than one occasion where I just stuck a rocket to a log or a box and bypassed an entire challenge area they intentionally wanted me to fight through. There's many glitches, bugs and exploits that players can use to their own advantage, including myself. There's a glitch where you can jump in mid-air and duplicate any item that you can hold. Me myself, I've only done compound duplication for diamonds so I can make myself the richest person in Hyrule. And the only reason excuse that I feel that this is okay to use is because we went and fought through everything in Breath of the Wild. So it's strange to me that Tears of the Kingdom makes you go all the way back to the beginning, making sure the player misses out on the cool armor that we've already rewarded ourselves with in the previous game. So I feel like the rupees and armor and buying everything you've already had before almost loses the intention and even spoils what Breath of the Wild offered to the player in terms of an adventure and feeling like a hero of time. But nonetheless, this is still cheating in the original sense. I'm cheating to skip and bypass the grinding feeling of getting enough rupees and just bypassing the tedium of getting back to where I was at the end of Breath of the Wild. And that's often the part I want to look at, cheating to bypass a situation, and that radiates throughout Tears of the Kingdom. Sometimes they give me what I need to build a grand machine to get a Korok back to its friend, but all I'm going to do is stick it on the back of a horse and drag it all the way there without cares of using the tools that were given to me. I don't really care because I have all the convenience I need. The nightmarish ability of ascending is one that is so odd and wrong feeling that I often forget that I even have it in the first place. You'll be thrown into a cave or a well and left thinking and forgetting that you have to use the ability to often escape situations in deeper areas. But the most crucial and misplaced and stuck out area that I had this misplaced feeling hit me straight in the face was a place I would never expect from something like Zelda. A main temple in the story, to be exact, it's the Fire Temple, and I don't know what the hell they were thinking. As I said earlier, there's an expected quality we get from Nintendo and what they bring to their games, and this temple is one example I never expected to see it falter. Zelda sure in history has had some dud temples, but never have I genuinely played one and just wanted it to be over and done with. You are to explore the Fire Temple and get to 5 gongs on various 5 different levels. To do so, you need to combine and use the minecarts provided by the temple itself. It's cute and even fun for just a moment, and you can feel the Jedi spirits of Reggie and Miyamoto watching over your shoulder nodding as you use the safe approach that Nintendo had offered the player by giving you the carts that are provided. When on the rails with the carts, you need to change and alter the tracks by shooting and hitting targets, making paths to move between levels and ledges, and it's all very big, very complicated, very epic on a scale, and it feels like a temple. But then you remember something. Amongst all this tedium, amongst all this timing of hitting the right rails, amongst the frustration of going onto the wrong level or being confused by the level that's laid out in front of you, the game has taught and teased you one thing: it's okay to cheat. And I began to climb and fly and crawl my way through every gap the temple offered. The temple's structure and challenge had now changed. It's entirely been depleted, and whatever Nintendo intended me to do was now gone. It felt wrong and it felt unintended in the fullest sense. But why would I create a hassle of solving puzzles that are planned, laid out beautifully, made to scratch my skull when I can just rip myself through the very fabrics of this game's reality? Since the first Sky Island, that's not the design philosophy this game has been teaching me and what I had been experiencing. And it's that misplaced feeling that I keep talking about that has completely ruined and changed the way a temple should be handled. And by exploiting and glitching and climbing my way through this temple, I felt the ghosts of Miyamoto and Reggie fade away in anger. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I didn't even feel good about it, but I felt a hell of a lot better than I would have if I just sat there scratching my head thinking about hitting rails and puzzles. I felt like a cheater, but why wouldn't I? I was being punished with time and confusion by playing with the rules that the game had provided. Skirting edges and looking for ascension points and fusing items together like rockets onto my shield makes me skip entire encounters that Nintendo really had to put a lot of thought into. It's this taught and self-learnt lesson that comes with Tears of the Kingdom that makes it feel unique, odd, broken, confusing, lost. None of them are the right words, and some of them even have negative connotations, but there's something that is genuinely haunting the game's atmosphere with this feeling, but it's not negative, or is it distinctly positive? It's solely something that I haven't felt for a very long time in gaming, and it brings back a feeling of long since past. But just like Fujibayashi said, I guess cheating can be fun. And they seem to have hit that nail on the head, because this is actually fun. I hope I got this video done in the one day. I'm literally editing this right now at 10:43, or should I say recording this right now at 10:43. I do have other videos planned. I am actually currently working for a new phobia video, which is going to be way longer, hopefully over an hour at least. But I'm working on that. But I needed to get this off this chest because, of course, as you can imagine, with everybody else, Tears of the Kingdom has been taking over my world right now. And I just wanted to talk about a distinct feeling that this game emits. And I think I got my feelings across quite well in this video. If you enjoyed this video, hey, feel free to leave a like. Why not subscribe for more videos like this? I'm working on more stuff currently. And of course, like usual, I'll see you at the next checkpoints.